The Light in Darkness, the story of Festus. Chapter 1. When the world went dark. The morning Festus lost his sight, the world didn't end with thunder or earthquakes. It ended with a whisper, a gentle dimming of light that began at the edges of his vision and crept inward like shadows at dusk. He was 17 then, strong-limbed and eager, his hands skilled at his father's carpentry trade, his eyes bright with dreams of the future. "Father, I can't see the grain of the wood anymore," he had said, his voice barely audible above the scraping of his plane. The words hung in the air of their small workshop like dust motes, innocent and terrible. His father, Matthias, had looked up from his workbench, wood shavings clinging to his graying beard. "Come closer to the window, son, the light is better there." But even pressed against the window frame, with the Jerusalem sun streaming through the opening, Festus could only make out vague shapes and shifting shadows. The intricate patterns in the cedar wood that had once revealed themselves to him like secrets written in golden script were now lost in an impenetrable fog. Within days, the fog became complete darkness. The physicians came with their theories and their remedies, drops of honey and wine, prayers to various gods, hot cloths pressed against his eyes until his skin burned. Nothing worked. The darkness remained, absolute and unforgiving. "It's God's judgment," whispered the neighbors when they thought he couldn't hear. The boy must have sinned greatly for the Almighty to strike him so. But Festus knew better. He had been a good son, faithful in his prayers, honest in his dealings. If this was judgment, then God's justice was as mysterious as his mercy. The thought should have comforted him, but instead, it only deepened his despair. Chapter 2. The Slow Death of Dreams. The transformation from sighted to blind was not just physical, it was the systematic dismantling of everything Festus had believed himself to be. The carpenter's son who could shape wood with the precision of a master craftsman became a stumbling burden, who knocked over tools and split his fingers on rough planks. The young man who had dreamed of taking over his father's business became a liability who cost more than he could ever earn. "Perhaps," his father said one evening, his voice heavy with reluctance, "you should consider other options." Festus knew what other options meant. The streets of Jerusalem were filled with the blind, sitting at gates and crossroads, their hands outstretched, their voices raised in endless pleas for mercy. The thought of joining their ranks made his stomach turn, but what choice did he have? The first day he took his place beside the road leading to the temple, Festus felt as though he were burying himself alive. He had wrapped his head in a cloth, partially to shield his useless eyes from the sun, but mostly to hide his shame. The coins that occasionally clinked into his bowl sounded like chains binding him to this new, diminished existence. "Please," he would call out, his voice growing hoarse as the day wore on. "Have mercy on a blind man. Just a coin, just a crust of bread." The responses varied. Some people hurried past as though blindness were contagious. Others dropped a coin with hurried prayers, as if their charity might purchase them protection from a similar fate. A few, very few, stopped to speak with him, to ask his name or offer a word of comfort. These moments of human connection were like water to a man dying of thirst. But it was the silence that nearly broke him. The long stretches when no one passed, when he sat alone with his thoughts and his fears, listening to the world continue around him without his participation. In those moments, he felt himself becoming less than human, a shadow of a man, a voice without substance, a need without worth.